is here from Department of Health.
Good afternoon, Secretary. Can you hear me okay?
Hi, I can. Thank you. I'm glad you're here. Oh, good. I see Commerce calling in. There's Secretary Key. I think we've got, there is Secretary Preston. We're right at, okay, we're live. It's 4 o'clock. This is the CARES Act Steering Committee meeting. And we have a couple of our legislators who I believe are still in committee. So I'm going to go ahead and call roll and see if they are able to join us. Just to make sure I am here as the chair of the committee. Dr. Bledsoe, have you been able to call in? Don't see him yet. Okay. And then we have Secretary Walther, Secretary Preston, Secretary Cindy Gillespie, Secretary Fetcher, Secretary Cook, Secretary Johnny Key, and Bill Gossage from the governor's office. Yeah, there you are. Senator Irvin, oh, that may be her. Somebody's in the waiting room. I've got Senator Wallace. I see you here. Representative Michelle Gray, have you joined us yet? And Representative Fred Allen, I'm so sorry. Not yet. And Representative Lane Jean, I do see you. And then we do have assist us in the review of the items on our agenda. We have Ms. Sharonda Love from Department of Health, Terry Solomon Graves from Department of Corrections, and we have Marty Ryle from Public Broadcasting. We have the Northwest Arkansas group, Pearl McElfish from the Northwest Council, Dr. Markham from Department of Ed. Thank you all so much for joining us. Okay, let's see. Okay, so I'm sorry, I just got a message from Dr. Bledsoe. He's just a little bit late. Oh, he's on. We just haven't heard from him. Yes, Dr. Bledsoe's on the call. Thank you. And then we have a couple, we're waiting for Senator Missy Irvin, Representative Michelle Gray, and Representative Fred Allen, and they're probably still in committee. So I don't necessarily want to, we won't get to the meat of our meeting, hopefully until they arrive of any new money, but I can go forward with our meeting and we can discuss the items that are to be returned. We have some good news. We have some money that's back. Also on the agenda, I wanted to point out under item 3I, further down on the page, corrections, we have 3 items listed. We've got hazard pay for correctional facility workers. We have medical and public health items and storage unit. The last 2 items, medical and public health items and the storage unit, those items have been invoiced. They have actually spent the money and have requested reimbursement. And then we are going to have a request from corrections that Secretary Solomon Graves can explain related to the $437,000 they'd like to reallocate for some items that are not necessarily on the pre-approved item list. So we'll jump down to that when we get to that on the agenda. All right, DFNA, I'm going to move to you and see if you can tell us that we are going to receive back.
Do you want to do the minutes?
You want to? I'll make a
Oh,
motion.
I forgot about the minutes. Thank
I'll make a
you.
motion.
Thank
I'll make a
you.
motion.
And I'll
Thank you,
second
Representative
the
Jean.
motion.
Thank you, Secretary Walther. All in favor of approval of the minutes from January 19th?
Aye.
Thank you. Any opposed? Okay, the minutes have been approved. Thank you for reminding me of that. I was caught up with making sure everybody was here. Okay, go ahead, Secretary Wallace, about.
Okay. I'm
where we
going
are.
to- Okay, thank you, Madam Chairman. I'm going to probably bounce around a little here, but what I'd like to do is start with our current balance is $40,891,000 in the CARES CRF fund. We expect to be returned to the fund $8.775 million, which would make the total available $49,660,000 approximately. Now we are going to address requests today totaling $13.417 million, and if all of those are approved, we will have a remainder of $36,249,527.62. So that's kind of what we may look like at the end of the day based on the requests that we have in front of us. So we're going to go up to 49.6 million and then down to 36.2 million. So we can still cover the cybersecurity that we have approved pending other evaluations. So that's where we are. With regard to the return of funds, they're listed on the agenda under 2A, Department of Education meal reimbursement, ADH, tobacco-free Arkansas, Romania is about $100 there. DHS, $6.7 million. From the Department of Heritage Convention Center, $1.9 million. And then reimbursement remaining at $530. So those are the dollars that we expect to come back from the agencies who they won't be required to be spent out of the CARES money, so we'll get those back. We have another project that we're working on at DFA, and it deals with a change in the funding attributable to FEMA. If you'll recall, we were at a 75% FEMA reimbursement for 25%, where the state puts up to 25%. They've changed that to 100% from FEMA. What we believe is we have a great opportunity to apply to get reimbursed from FEMA for that 25% that we've already spent. And that would be coming back to the CARES committee for other projects that we may want to fund. And it could be a significant amount of money. It could be $100 million or more if in fact this works out the way we believe it has the potential of, and so does Hagerty and CTEC. We're working with them to develop the procedure. We're going to be writing a letter to FEMA, and so is Adam to start the process of making that evaluation and making requests for that reimbursement. So that's something to look forward to. I hope that we're successful in that area. We'll know sometime here. What do you think, Paul?
3 to 4 months.
That far out? 3 to 4 months?
June or July.
Okay. Easy. All right. So we'll be working with them on that. The other item that we have is the new law that was passed and signed into law this month, and the American Rescue Plan. And the checks that are for the stimulus payments to individuals of $1,400 are expected to go out and be in checking accounts tomorrow, is what I've been told. If you're interested, that is about $3.7 billion infused into the Arkansas economy, just in Arkansas, in those $1,400 checks to individuals. There are some specific there's specific dollars that are going to certain areas like education, health and human services, agriculture, transportation, homeland security, and arts and humanities, as well as the cities. There's 13 metro cities, they call them entitlement cities, that are 50,000 and more. That will be about $200,000. It'll go directly, 200 million, apologize, 200 million to those 13 cities. There'll be another 585 million going to counties and 210 million going to non-metro cities and municipalities that'll be distributed by the state. When we'll be looking for instructions from Treasury on how that will be done. And then there's a $2.8 billion that'll go to state and local recovery funds from the Treasury. And the total of those amounts potentially coming to Arkansas is $8.7 billion. That includes the 3.7 that's going to be going out tomorrow. What we don't know is how that money can be used. The law has been passed, but the specific rules and regulations, if you'll recall, were put out by Treasury. And we got the $1.25 billion put in the bank, and it was over a month before we started getting any instructions from Treasury on how we could spend the money or how we could use the money. And that's when we formed the CARES Steering Committee. So, I guess we're not looking for it today or tomorrow, but hopefully it'll be in some short order where we'll know how that money can be spent and on what kind of projects. So that's kind of what we are looking at going forward. Madam Secretary, I think that concludes my presentation for the DFA report on funds.
Thank you. That's very helpful. That's good, very good news and very helpful information. Does anyone have any questions for Secretary Walther regarding the status of our funds and where we are?
I do.
Okay, go ahead, Representative Jean.
Mr. Walters, I've heard that, and I don't know if y'all heard some of the same stuff, that it may be 60 days before we get some clarity on how some of this money can be spent. Have you heard that?
I personally haven't, but that does not surprise me. We have a conference call with the National Association of Budget Officers tomorrow, where we're going to be asking questions collectively with other states that, I don't know, will it be all 50 states on the thing, or?
It's open to them.
Yeah, it's open to 50 states. And so there will be questions that we're going to present to our national organization that we want answered. And hopefully that they, working with the Treasury and the people in Washington, D.C., will know the sorts of things that we need to know in order to implement this bill. So I have not heard a long story, but the short answer is I personally have not heard, and I don't think anybody in this room has heard any date on when we'll have that.
Okay.
But they don't work that fast. I mean, and I don't mean that negatively, in the sense that they're not working, but there are a lot of things that they have to consider in putting these rules and regulations together.
Thank you.
Yes, it did take a little while to get the first set of guidelines last year when we received these, and then we did receive additional guidelines later on in the summer.
And we're inquiring. We got CTEC and Haggerty who are working with us also. So then we've got NASBO and and 2 or 3 other organizations that we're members of that are that will be working toward getting answers and understanding of what we can expect to come down. But it's a lot of money, and the one thing I did not say, we have until January the 31st of 2024 to spend all this money. So it's 3 years and 9 months from now.
The new money.
The new money, that's correct. We have to the end of the year to spend the CARES money.
Okay.
Okay. Now again, that concludes my presentation.
Thank you. Does anyone else have any other questions for Secretary Walther? Hearing none. Okay.
Yeah,
thank
hey,
you. Oh,
yeah,
yes, go ahead.
Yeah, just could you give me that date again? That to spend the new round of money?
December the 31st of 2024 is what we have. It may be different, Johnny, for your money that's coming in for directly to you in education, higher education and K through 12.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, any other issues or questions before we move on? And I just wanted to give an opportunity to see if we have, I'm looking to see if Senator Irvin.
Madam
Right.
Chairman,
Yes,
one thing we could do here is we've got some documents that contains quite a bit of the information that I just discussed. If you would like, I will get those to you and you can distribute them to the committee.
thank you. I appreciate that. Yes, I'll email that out at the end. After I receive it, I'll just send it to all the committee. That would be great. Okay, so I was checking to see if we had Senator Irvin or Representative Allen or Representative Gray. Okay. I appreciate that report. Let's go ahead and talk about the projects. What we had done back in January, we reviewed a number of projects that would need to have funding extended until the end of March. And so that's what we're here today to look at dollars that we've received or that we had extended and then determine whether they need to be extended again. Most of the monies, I guess, I don't know, a number the projects have been concluded. We have a few that only need a little more time to complete, but then some do need additional time. So I've listed everything on the agenda. The one thing we do need to change is related to Department of Correction. So if Secretary Graves can speak to that, the other items are just as they are set on the agenda, that they're set to expire, but we're asking to extend until June 30th. We have from Agriculture, Commerce, Department of Health, Public Broadcasting, Parks, Heritage and Tourism, Department of Correction, TSS, DFNA. So I'll go ahead and ask Secretary Graves to explain his change, and then we'll go in to ask any questions about the others. Go ahead, Secretary Graves.
Good afternoon, Secretary Smith and
Thank you.
members of the CARES Act Committee. Secretary Smith alluded to at the beginning of the meeting, there are 3 items under the Department of Corrections on your agenda. 2 of those items, the existing allotment for medical and public health items that we have submitted invoicing for the balance of those funds and are waiting for those to be processed, along with invoices related to the PPE storage unit we previously asked the steering committee to provide funding for. What I'm asking the steering committee for their approval for today is the extension and reallocation of the $437,000 that is currently earmarked for hazard pay for correctional facility workers. We have paid out the previously approved $500 payment to those staff who are eligible and were employed with the department at a facility responding to COVID at the time we made those payments. However, due to vacancies within both our divisions, we have a balance of $437,000 that is yet to be expended. While we have made and sustained a marked improvement in our COVID response, we currently only have 50 offenders who are COVID positive in both the Division of Correction and the Division of Community Correction, and only 7 employees who are COVID positive throughout the department. We continue to respond to the COVID-19 pandemic to include administering vaccine to eligible staff and now eligible offenders in Group 1C. We are asking for the reallocation of this $437,000 for the purpose of medical and public health items that are not on the pre-approved list for the duration of this fiscal year or till June 30th. In effect, what this would provide us is a source of funding for reimbursement for any remaining costs that may come up between now and the end of this fiscal year.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Does anybody have any questions for Secretary Gray specifically about his request? I don't hear any. Thank you. Are there any questions regarding the other requests to extend until June 30th? Okay. And while we're looking at that, I also have listed the requests that we had initially listed as expiring June 15th. Oh, I did already mention Department of Commerce and Department of Human Services. We'd like to go ahead and have those just expire at the end of the fiscal year on June 30th. So are there any questions related to any of those? Okay, is there a motion to
I'll
approve?
make the motion.
Thank you, Representative Jean. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Secretary Fetcher. Any discussion? Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
I'm hearing some and getting some thumbs up. Thank you. Any opposed? I hear no opposed. I see no thumbs down. Thank you very much. So we have approved these projects to pass on until the end of June. And I did not list for you on this agenda the projects that have been completed and that the fund has been distributed. That is all in the spreadsheet that comes from DFA. It's called the CRF spreadsheet. And I sent that to you as of yesterday. So if you were curious about the things, if you didn't hear of something that we had already approved. Then we did have one, I just wanted to double check with Secretary Gillespie on the continuity of care, emergency reimbursement, and the child advocacy centers. They were, I think, expected to be expended by the end of March. 1.2 million for continuity of care for emergency reimbursement. And then the child advocacy center still had 40,000. And if we need to extend that on to June, I'm happy to do that. I just make sure.
No.
Okay,
We are doing a final push out.
great.
Once we see, I think it's better just to bring the money back and redisperse it. If
Well, we
don't
really
get people
appreciate
needing it. So,
Very good, very good. I really appreciate that. So I just didn't want us to miss the opportunity if you needed it. I know I did speak with your people this morning and they said we were fine to do it, but I just wanted to double check. Okay, it has gone out in here. There we go. Okay, and we've already talked about the DFNA report on our remaining fund balance. Okay, we have an additional request that you see on the agenda, and I submitted to you the proposal from Department of Commerce from Secretary Preston related to those proposals, and I will turn the Zoom over to Secretary Preston and his staff. Thank you.
Thank you, Secretary. So we have two on here. One is the UI IT modernization. This one just with the new relief package being passed, what was that, December, and then we're getting the guidance in January. It extended our PUA into March with the new package that was just passed. It's going to take us into September. So it's literally been all hands on deck trying to just get that program up and managed from our IT perspective, and just have not been able to focus on the UI IT modernization. We do anticipate now the last couple of weeks that's getting underway and having that spent by June 30th. So we needed the extension there. And then on the rural broadband and the Rural Connect program, we had roughly about 6.4 million left over, both in administrative cost, and that's just a product of UAMS when they do the billing for us, and then the 2.2 left in the actual fund. I think that number might have actually diminished some. However, we now this week have been able to recoup some funds on projects that came in a little bit under budget or did not materialize for whatever reason. We have plenty in the hopper that we can reallocate that to. And the next ones in line will certainly be able to fund those projects, but needed to extend both of those to June 30th are the two that I have on there. Happy to answer any questions.
Yes, and I think we have approved those to be extended, and I appreciate that, and definitely the information about reallocating to the other broadband proposals, because reaching as many people as possible is what we'd like. So thank you. Does anyone have any questions? Oh, good. Representative Gray has joined us. Okay, Secretary Preston, do you want to tell us about your new request for the additional funding for the Maximus contract?
Yes, so I've got two additional requests. The first one is for the Maximus contract, and I think we've been over this before this committee. This is the call center that we have in place to help us with the pandemic unemployment assistance. As we previously discussed, we anticipated this running out in December, or actually it did end in December 26th. And the last stimulus that was signed December 27th took this into March to mid-March. And then with the passing of this last piece of legislation now takes us to September. So the additional $10 million will be enough to cover us for the Maximus contract to keep that support for the call center going until that time in September. And then I can stop there and talk about the guard request if anyone's got any questions specifically on this.
I don't have any questions, but I would say this is, it's very important. I think it's very important, and it's a testament to, it's not that you didn't have enough money. It's that we've gotten additional funding.
Right. We've got additional funding and we
unemployment.
need to keep the program open longer.
Exactly.
So the need continues now into September, and this will be enough to take us to that time in September.
Exactly. So I appreciate that. Does anybody have any questions? No, seeing none. Okay, and I did, Representative Gray has joined us, and I think Representative Allen might be with her. They were breaking from a committee meeting. Okay, so let's move on to the next. If we could batch these, if you don't have an objection, I'd like to just batch both of these
Sure.
requests together. You can go ahead and explain them.
So then the next one is a request for $2.2 million to support funding for the Arkansas National Guard. We've been working with the Guard now for a couple of weeks to get some additional support in addition to the Maximus contract. I know everyone's seeing the reports on PUA and just the additional work and challenges that we've had, the long lines at our workforce centers. So we've been working with General Penn and his team on a plan that's going to bring in Guard support for 30 days starting April 1st. And this would be the funds to be able to cover that. And that's going to allow us to hopefully get through some of the backlog that we have in the PUA system, better manage those lines at the workforce center. And part of the issue too is with the new legislation that was passed, the Obama administration has put out new guidance related to the pandemic unemployment assistance. So they've opened up additional areas that would allow people to qualify. So some of these ones that have been rejected previously, not saying, any or all of them are going to get approved, but we have to go through now and review all the ones that have been previously rejected and see if they fit under this category. So it's going to be a tremendous workload here in the next couple of weeks, 2 to 4 weeks. And the Guard support is going to allow us to get through that. The cost of this, which we tried to run through FEMA, unfortunately, we were denied for the federal funding to allow this to happen. But CARES is a vehicle that would allow us to do this and support and pay the Guard for that time. The request is $2.2 million. Happy to answer any questions there as well.
How many, question,
Go ahead, Representative Jean.
how many Guard members are going to be working on this?
It is 111.
111, and they're coming throughout the state?
Yes, sir. So we'll be having them across the state. We're going to do some strategic ID verifications. That's one of the pinch points for us right now. Is when part of the new requirements under PUA is that you have to verify your ID on the front end. So we have a way that you can do that, uploading it online through a unique URL. But some people are having difficulties with that, or they don't have access to broadband, or just can't do it, and they have to do it in person. So we're going to set up some kind of mass ID check points that are going to allow us to get through that, and the guard's going to be able to come in and assist us to do that. But they'll be strategically positioned throughout the state for those, as well as our local workforce offices, even some here in Little Rock, to help with some of the appeals and claims and review of those applications that might be in a review status.
Okay, thank you.
I have a question.
Go ahead, Representative Gray. Thank you.
Thank you. And that's, I know the last month or so has been really, really rough on the legislators because of all the emails that we've been getting with so many people stuck in review.
Mm-hmm.
Are the National Guard that you're going to be bringing in April, are they already trained and ready to go? So will they be able to hit the ground running and help clear this review queue starting April 1st?
That's the hope is that we'll be able to get some of them trained to do that, but then also it alleviating the pressure at some of the local offices to allow those who are trained to focus on that and getting that review cleared out. In addition to that, some of our IT modernization that we're doing is going to allow us to be able to do that at a quicker pace. So the IT modernization coupled with the support from the Guard is really going to free those things up to allow that to happen. And I agree, Representative, the emails have just been overwhelming, certainly to the legislators. Myself and Dr. Childers and her team are just inundated with them. And we really want to make sure that we're getting through that backlog. And if people have legitimate claims, let's get them paid. And I think the Guard's going to allow us to help us to do that.
Okay, just a second quick question. Do you think 1 month of the Guard is going to be enough? I mean, do you think if we get through this backlog, are we good then? Or do you think we're going to need them longer?
Goodness, I don't want to say that we're going to be good, because if anything in this pandemic and with what Congress can pass, it can come back. I mean, I feel like the Biden administration is kind of put out new guidance and directives every week that are making us go back and have to change something and add additional. So my hope is that 30 days gets us better position. We might, be in a position 15 days into it where we're saying, no, we're going to need it further. I'm sure we could put them to use beyond that, but I think we start with these 30 days and maybe evaluate halfway through to see how we are and if we're going to need it beyond that.
Okay, thank you.
Are there any other questions? No questions? Okay, no other questions. Okay, thank you. Is there a motion to approve the request for $10 million for the UI Maximus contract through from January 1 to June 30th of this year, and also the request for $2.2 million for the Division of Workforce Services to allow the National Guard to assist?
I'll
for the
make
month
the
of April?
motion.
Thank you, Representative Jean. Second.
I'll second.
Thank you, Secretary Key.
I'll say.
Thank you also, Representative Gray. Okay, all those, any discussion on the motion? Oh, Representative Allen is joining our meeting. Give him an opportunity. Representative Allen, hi, joining. Hello, Representative Allen. Thank you for joining. We are about to vote on the proposal from Department of Commerce for the request for $10 million for UI Maximus contract to be extended from January to June of this year, and the $2.2 million request for Workforce Services to hire the National Guard to assist with the applications and documentation in the month of April. So are you ready?
Yes.
Thank you. Okay, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Any opposed? Great, thank you. And thank you, Secretary Preston. Your request
you. I
has
appreciate
been
it.
approved. Thank you. Okay, and then we have a request from the Department of Parks, Heritage, and Tourism for an additional $17,006.15 related to business improvement grant expenses. So the big grant had additional expenses that needed to be paid. They did return funds already. And so and even if they had, we would have needed, it's only $17,000. You should have received a copy of those invoices related to, I think they were from CJRW. It was a pretty big file. Secretary Hurst was called away. So I let her know that I would present this and see if y'all had any questions. Hopefully we could answer those between me and the Department of Finance and Administration. They have also received these invoices.
Move approval.
Thank you,
I
Secretary
second.
Key.
Second.
Thank you. Was that Secretary
Second.
Walker? Thank you. Okay, any discussion? All right, we'll vote. All those in favor, say aye.
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 Thank you.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, great. That has passed. Finally, we have a request from the public broadcasting system. We heard about this way back when we initially approved the request for last year. And I know that Marty Ryle and his team are on. If you would like to go ahead and explain your request. Thank
Sure.
you.
Thank you, Secretary Smith. When we first put in our project for expanding our towers in Arkansas, the entire cost for the project was $6.4 million. We only asked this committee for 5.2 of that because of the time constraints we faced with the original December 30th, 2020 deadline. But now that there's more time, we have time to finish out this project to its completion. So that's what the 1.22 million would be. It's part of the original and budget that we submitted to you. It just we didn't ask for the full thing at that time, the time constraints. And answer any questions you might have. And also we have our CFO Fred on here. He'll take the hard questions. I'll take the easy ones.
Thank you. Does anyone have questions for PBS? No questions?
I make a motion that we approve the request from Marty Rao and PBS.
Thank you, Secretary Walther. Is there a second?
A second.
Thank you, Secretary Key. Any discussion on the motion? Okay, are you ready to vote? All those in favor of the additional 1.22 million for PBS broadcast, please signify by aye.
Aye. Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, no opposed. Thank you. So your request is approved. Thank you very much, everyone, for your time. Thank you, Marty, for bringing that to us. Oh, we've got feedback. And we have a minute. I just wanted to tell you all how much I appreciate you. We have been working hard on this for over a year now. Everyone to be dealing with COVID, to fighting the pandemic, to working on helping the state to come through as much as we have to be able to expend these dollars and to help all of the people that have needed it. So I just wanted to say thank you for everything that y'all have done and the time that you've put into this committee, for reviewing all of the requests, attending the meetings, and for bearing with me on our short notices sometimes and changes. So I appreciate all of you and all of your time. Is there anything else for the good of the committee? Any discussion or requests that we need to discuss? No? Okay. Well, we're trying not to meet as often as you see for lots of reasons. Mainly, we are doing a good job in identifying the projects that need funding, and we have pretty much most passed out our funding. So we are probably not going to meet again for a little while unless we have issues that need to be addressed or if something else up. So y'all just let me know if you need anything, and I look forward to completing our project. Thanks, everybody.